Someone mentions your name from across the room. Your attention snaps toward it before you even think. A few quiet words between two people can pull your focus more powerfully than a flashing advertisement, a ringing notification, or even the task sitting directly in front of you. Why? Most people assume gossip is just a bad habit, a social weakness, something modern society invented and then pretended to dislike. But the real answer is far stranger. Your attraction to gossip may be one of the oldest survival systems your brain possesses. Long before cities existed, before writing, before money, before nations, your ancestors depended on information about other people in ways that are difficult to imagine today. Not because they were nosy, because knowing who did what could determine who survived. Imagine waking up 10,000 years ago. You do not live among millions of strangers. You live among a few dozen people. Every person matters. Every relationship matters. Every alliance matters. If someone steals food, everyone feels it. If someone refuses to help during a hunt, everyone remembers it. If someone lies, cheats, abandons a promise, or proves unusually generous, that information spreads quickly. Why wouldn't it? Your ancestors could not search the internet. They could not read reviews. They could not check criminal records. The only database available was the memory of other humans. Anthropologists often describe small hunter-gatherer societies as information-rich environments, not because they possessed technology, because people constantly exchanged social knowledge. Who can be trusted? Who shares resources? Who breaks agreements? Who helps children? Who becomes dangerous when angry? These questions were not entertainment. They were survival questions. The evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar became famous for proposing that human beings evolved unusually large social brains, partly because managing relationships became incredibly important. According to his research, humans maintain far more complex social networks than most other primates. That creates a problem. How do you keep track of everybody? One possible answer is conversation. More specifically, conversation about people. Dunbar even suggested that language may have partially evolved as a more efficient replacement for social grooming, the behavior seen in monkeys and apes when they pick through one another's fur to strengthen bonds. Instead of spending hours grooming individuals one by one, humans could exchange stories, information, and reputations with multiple people at once. A few minutes of talking could strengthen an entire network. Seen through that lens, gossip begins to look very different. It is no longer pointless chatter. It becomes social maintenance, a tool, a technology built from words. And that changes everything. Think about what happens when somebody tells you a story about another person. Your brain immediately starts calculating. Can this information help predict future behavior? Does it affect my relationship with that person? Does it affect my standing in the group? Should I trust them more? Trust them less? Avoid them entirely? These calculations often happen beneath awareness. You simply feel interested. But interest is not random. Interest is your brain deciding that information might matter. Researchers have repeatedly found that humans remember social information surprisingly well. Stories about people often stick longer than abstract facts. A statistic disappears. A personal story remains. Why? Because for most of human history, social information carried enormous value. The psychologist Nicholas Emler argued that reputation functions like a social currency. People cannot directly observe everything. Instead, they depend on reports from others. That means reputation can influence opportunities, cooperation, status, and trust. In other words, what people say about you matters. What people say about others matters too. And once reputation becomes valuable, attention naturally follows. This creates an interesting contradiction. Many cultures publicly criticize gossip, yet nearly every culture engages in it. People claim they dislike it, then spend hours discussing people. Why would a behavior appear everywhere if it provided no benefit? Anthropologists studying communities around the world have noticed that conversations about absent individuals often help enforce social norms. When groups discuss behavior, they communicate expectations. What counts as fair? What counts as selfish? What counts as admirable? What counts as unacceptable? The conversation itself becomes a form of social education. Children learn it. Adults reinforce it. Communities maintain it, even when nobody consciously intends to teach anything. Imagine hearing that a neighbor lied to a friend and lost everyone's trust. The story carries information beyond the specific event. It quietly broadcasts a rule. Actions have consequences. People notice, reputations matter. Without realizing it, listeners absorb lessons about acceptable behavior. This is where gossip becomes more than curiosity. It becomes regulation. A society without formal police forces still needs mechanisms that encourage cooperation. Social reputation can become one of those mechanisms. The political scientist Robert Axelrod explored how cooperation emerges among individuals. One lesson appearing repeatedly in such research is that future reputation influences present behavior. When people know others are watching, remembering, and sharing information, cooperation often increases. Nobody wants a bad reputation. That fear can shape choices. Suddenly, gossip looks less like noise and more like infrastructure, an invisible system connecting hundreds of minds. But there is another reason your brain pays attention. Humans are prediction machines. Your brain constantly tries to anticipate what will happen next. Every piece of information helps refine those predictions, especially information involving people. People are complicated. People are unpredictable. People can help. People can hurt. As a result, your brain devotes enormous resources to understanding them. Neuroscientists have found that social thinking activates extensive networks throughout the brain. You spend remarkable amounts of mental energy imagining intentions, motivations, beliefs, and future actions, even when alone, even when resting, even when supposedly doing nothing. Part of your mind remains occupied by other minds. That tendency may explain why stories about human behavior feel irresistibly compelling. A hurricane is interesting. A betrayal is unforgettable. A number is useful. A secret is magnetic. One speaks to the analytical parts of your mind. The other speaks to ancient social systems that evolved across countless generations. This becomes obvious when you examine modern media. News organizations know it. Film writers know it. Content creators know it. Stories centered on people attract attention because people have always attracted attention. The details change. The underlying psychology remains surprisingly similar. Thousands of years ago, your ancestors exchanged information around a fire. Today, information spreads through phones. The technology transformed. The brain largely stayed the same. Yet gossip has a darker side. The same mechanism that helps groups share useful information can also spread misinformation. False rumors travel. Exaggerations grow. Nuance disappears. A small event becomes a dramatic story. An uncertainty becomes a certainty. The very efficiency that makes social information valuable also makes it dangerous. Researchers studying rumor transmission have repeatedly observed how stories mutate as they pass between individuals. Details vanish. New details appear. Confidence increases even when accuracy decreases. This creates a challenge your ancestors also faced. Which information deserves trust? The answer has never been simple. That may be why humans evolved skepticism alongside curiosity. You want information, but you also want reliable information. The tension between those goals still shapes conversations today. Sometimes the desire to know outruns the evidence. Sometimes caution wins. Your brain constantly negotiates between the two. Interestingly, studies suggest people are often especially interested in information involving social norm violations. In plain language, unusual behavior captures attention. A person acting exactly as expected is predictable. A person breaking expectations is informative. If someone behaves strangely, others want to understand why. Not necessarily because they enjoy judging, because unexpected behavior may signal important changes in the social environment. Again, what looks like simple curiosity may actually reflect deeper predictive systems at work. Your ancestors benefited from noticing unusual patterns. You inherited that tendency. This helps explain why gossip rarely focuses on ordinary events. Nobody gathers a crowd to announce that someone behaved exactly as expected. People discuss surprises, scandals, conflicts, unexpected successes, unexpected failures. The unusual spreads because the unusual teaches. At least, that is what your brain assumes. Of course, modern life creates a mismatch. For most of human history, social information involved people your ancestors actually knew. Today you can hear rumors about celebrities living thousands of kilometers away. You can follow the personal lives of complete strangers. You can consume endless streams of social information disconnected from your daily survival. Ancient mechanisms now operate in environments they never evolved to handle. The result can feel strange. Your brain reacts to distant social drama as though it might matter personally. Sometimes it does not, but the system activates anyway. Evolution rarely designs for future technologies. It designs for past realities. This mismatch appears throughout human behavior. Cravings for sugar, fear of public embarrassment, attraction to status, sensitivity to rejection. Many modern experiences emerge from ancient systems encountering new environments. Gossip may be another example. A prehistoric adaptation meeting a digital world. Yet despite all the changes, one truth remains remarkably consistent. Humans are social creatures. Your survival has always depended on other people, not occasionally, constantly. Food, protection, learning, friendship, opportunity, belonging. Every one of these depends on relationships, and relationships depend on information. Who can be trusted? Who cannot? Who helps? Who harms? Those questions shaped countless generations before you were born. The answers mattered then. The answers still matter now. That does not mean every rumor deserves attention. It does not mean every conversation about absent people is wise. But it does mean your interest has deeper roots than most people realize. When a whispered story captures your attention, something ancient may be stirring beneath the surface. Not simple nosiness, not moral failure, not modern distraction. A survival system built across thousands of generations, still trying to understand the social world around you. So the next time someone mentions your name from across the room and your attention instantly snaps toward it, remember what your brain is really doing. It is not merely listening for gossip. It is performing a task that helped your ancestors navigate friendships, alliances, dangers, opportunities, and survival itself. And suddenly those quiet words between two people look very different from before.